Hey everyone, welcome to the Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness podcast. I'm Stephanie, a book-loving, notebook-hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of books and notebooks as tools for wellness. Reading and writing can help us feel better and make life better too, and I'll show you how I do it. You'll find episodes exploring the research behind reading and writing for wellness, practical strategies to embrace your own restorative reading and writing, and you'll meet authors and special guests who help us take inspired actions in our own daily practices too. So grab a notebook and your TBR list and let's dive into today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness. I'm Stephanie Affinito, and I'm here with another episode on how reading and writing can make life better and can help us feel better too. Now, this is the first episode being released after the holiday season, so no matter what you celebrate or how you celebrate, I hope your holiday was everything that you wanted and needed it to be. Now, if you're listening to this episode in real time on the day or in the week that it was released, then you're finding yourself in that liminal space between the holiday and the new year. I used to call it the gap week. It was that 1 week of the year where everything slowed down. I wasn't working, the kids were home, the world just seemed to operate at a slower, different kind of pace. I called it the gap year for a very long time until I recently heard Beth Kempton call it the hush week. And I feel like the hush week has a much more beautiful connotation around it. So therefore, I am adopting that word myself. I've also heard it called the Christmas space. I've heard it called the liminal week to the new year. I've heard it called lots of different things. No matter what that week is to you or what that week is called for you, I think the world does find itself in a different kind of space in between Christmas and New Year's. And that's the kind of headspace that I am in this week. Now, my hush week looks a little bit different than hush weeks of the past. You can likely tell from my voice that I have been fighting the world's largest head cold and the flu in my home. And so our Christmas holidays were a little bit different this year. And so our Christmas celebrations are spilling into Hush Week. That means the usual taking down of the Christmas decorations isn't happening yet. It means the usual cleaning and organizing isn't happening yet. But there are two things that are happening this week, no matter what, that I do that I think sets me apart from other people who are getting ready for the new year in this week as well. Those two things I love to do to set myself up with the right tools and the right intentions for a brand new year are creating my notebook stack and creating my very first book apothecary of the year. Now, today's episode is going to dive deep into my 2026 notebook stack. And next week, to kick off the first episode of 2026, I'm going to dive into why you need to theme your reading life around one-word themes and create a book apothecary for yourself as well. So both of these things that I love doing this week will be covered on the podcast, starting today with creating my beloved 2026 notebook stack. Now, I do need to admit something and give a little bit of full disclosure here. I almost didn't record this episode. I almost decided not to share my 2026 stack with you. And there are really two main reasons why. One really big one, and that is that in 2025, I learned something very, very important about my writing life that wasn't always evident to me. The most powerful writing that I did in 2025 was so powerful, you could call it life-changing. I dove deep into the kind of writing that literally changes the way I think, literally changes the way my body feels, and really transformed how I think and feel on a day-to-day basis. That kind of writing was amazing to discover and dive into and learn more about. But here's the thing that took me by surprise. That powerful writing did not happen in a notebook. It didn't even happen on a laptop or a computer. That kind of writing, the writing that was so important to me, happened on a yellow legal paper. No, what is it called? A yellow legal pad that when I was done writing, I threw away. Now, I know some of you are moaning in your car or walking your dog saying, wait, what? You threw it away? You don't keep your notebooks? You don't keep your writing? And normally I would say, why, yes, I do. I have a stack of notebooks waiting to be written in, and I have a stack of notebooks already written in. But this kind of expressive writing that I really dove into in 2025 had nothing to do with a notebook. And so I realized that it wasn't the notebook that matters, right? It really isn't the notebook that matters. It's the writing. And so at first I thought by recording an episode that focused on the stack, on the notebooks, on the tools, that I wouldn't get across just how important the writing is inside of it, and that the notebook is actually just a container. But this episode has a near and dear place to my heart. And I feel like by talking about the notebooks themselves, we can get to the heart of the writing inside of them. So when I talk about my stack today, please know that yes, the stack matters. I love a good notebook. I love stacking them up and using them for all sorts of different things. And I love having about 12 empty ones ready to go for when I need another one. But there are three things that I think the physical notebook stack does for us that launches us into a writing life that matters. And here they are. The first thing that a notebook does, or a stack of notebooks do, is to provide an invitation to write in it. That physical notebook that sits on your counter or sits on your desk or your bedside table, it acts as an invitation to open it up and get started. It acts as a tangible reminder that you want to make writing or journaling or notebooking or whatever you call it a part of your daily life. So seeing that notebook and seeing that stack just reminds us the kinds of practices we want to engage in and the reminder to get to it. Now, beyond that invitation, that notebook offers us a space. It offers us a container to show up and just be, to work through who we are, to work through what we don't like, to work through what we want, to work on holding on to the good. Whatever you want your notebook to do for you, that notebook provides the space and the container to do it in a safe, private, protected space. No one else needs to see your notebook. No one else needs to know what you put in it. The beautiful thing about a notebook is that it is patient and it does not judge and it does not evaluate. And so that notebook gives us the space to just show up as we are, which is so important in creating a life that feels good and feels healthy too. And now, the third reason I think a notebook stack is so important is that it does provide us the evidence for growth. When we show up, when we write from who we are, and we have pages and pages and pages that have been completed, that is evidence that shows us we are on a path, we are on a journey, we are living, we are doing, we are being, we are growing, we are moving. And so that notebook acts as a celebration of all the previous selves who have been on the page and an acknowledgement that we are who we are today because of that. Now, I know the most important writing that I did in 2025, I actually threw away, but my evidence was the shrinking yellow legal pad. You know, when it starts off nice and thick because you haven't torn a page off yet, and then over time it gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and that little plastic thingy at the top just gets bigger and floppier. That was my evidence of my thinking and my doing and my being and my growth. So the notebook stack serves as so much more than a pile of notebooks. That's why when us notebooky kind of people get together and we start dreaming and sometimes commiserating about the number of notebooks we have, I am all in. I am happy because it means all of these future selves are just waiting for us in those notebooks. It's just more invitations, more spaces, more opportunities for evidence. And I say, why not? Let's go all in. But I will say that I have found there are two kinds of notebookers in this world. One kind is the person who just needs one notebook for all the things. You go out and you get a notebook for 2026, and it holds everything. Your to-do list, your gratitude list, your dreaming sessions, your sketching, your meeting notes, your calendar. It holds it all. You are a one and done kind of notebooker, and that works for your life. And then the second kind of person in the world, you want all the notebooks. You want a separate notebook for each separate thing you want the notebook to do. You want a notebook for your to-do lists. You want a notebook for your gratitude lists. You want a notebook for your reflections and your morning pages, and you want a different notebook for your planner and a different notebook for your work life. Both of those scenarios are wonderful. Both of those scenarios will lead you to a life that feels better because it isn't the notebook or the number of notebooks or even the kind of notebook that matters. It's your ability to show up to it and actually write inside of it. So, whichever kind of person you are, lean into it. You just want one notebook for 2026? Go there because you'll be more apt to write in it. But if you want lots of notebooks for 2026, then lean into that too, because you'll be more apt to write in those. The idea of a perfect notebook doesn't really exist, but we can get really close. If we just lean in to who we are and what we want out of our notebook and the kind of notebook that would feel really good, that honestly is the first step to showing up on the notebook in a way that feels really good to you. So if your invitation and your space and container and your evidence can feel like you, then you are more apt to write in it and get to that life-changing magic that happens on the page. So for me, you already know, I am a multiple notebook kind of person. I just love having multiple notebooks surrounding me and having different notebooks for different purposes. And this year, for 2026, I have chosen 6 notebooks that I am going to keep close and write in throughout the year. Now, will I write in each of these notebooks every day? No. I won't. And that's okay. I have one notebook that I will write in every single day for 2026 without fail. But all the rest, those notebooks will be written in when I need them. When I wake up in the morning and I want to do morning pages, I'll get the morning page notebook out. Or when I need that legal paper because I'm diving deep into expressive writing, I'll get that legal pad out. Right? Or maybe I have the nudge notebook close by in my purse. Maybe the quote notebook is in my restorative reading and writing pencil pouch. Right? So these notebooks that I'm going to tell you about today, they are not meant to be a to-do list or a checklist of notebooks you have to write in daily. If we did that, we would just burn the love out of our writing life and we wouldn't write in any of them. But these are the notebooks that I'm going to keep close by, that I'm going to surround myself with, that are going to be beautiful reminders of the kind of writing I want to show up for in 2026. So, by the way, before you can choose your 2026 notebook stack and the kinds of notebooks that you want to keep close to you, you first have to think about the kind of 2026 you want to have, right? This is where the notebook doesn't matter. It's the purpose and the intention and the reason for the notebook that matters, and the notebook helps you get there. So one of the things I always like to do is to fall back on my very simple 3 component formula, for choosing goals and intentions and books to read and notebooks and write in. And that is the Be, Feel, Do framework. I've talked about it on the podcast before. It's just the easiest, simplest, and most powerful way for me to think about my intentions in a coming year, a coming month, or even just a coming period of time. Who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? And what do I want to do? And from there, I decide how my writing life and my reading life can help me get there. The intention drives the choice of notebook. The intention drives the books that I choose to put in my book apothecary. So for me, in 2026, I have a couple of intentions, of goals, of feelings that I want to embrace in that Be, Feel, Do framework. One of the things I'm working really hard on is to hold on to the good. My brain by default, actually all human brains by default, by the way, tend to go to the negative to keep us safe. But that is not really a joyful place to operate from, to always be trying to think about what could go wrong so that you could intervene, or how to make everybody happy by taking care of all the loose parts. That makes you think in a different kind of way other than holding on to the good, or finding those glimmers, or looking for sparks, or operating from a lens of awe. That is one thing I want to cultivate this year. I want to be that kind of person that looks for and holds on to the good. Now, I also want to feel a lot of ease and a lot of creativity. I want 2026 to feel lighter and easier than 2025. I want it to feel more creative and fun than 2025 did. Related, I want to share all of that, especially my passion for reading and writing as a method to help us get there. I want to share that with others. I really want to move forward in 2026 by busting through my fears about showing up and doing more and being more visible, so that people can realize that reading and writing are tools for them they may not have considered in their personal growth journey. I also want to get out of my own way and try new things. I want to take that cake decorating class. I want to decorate cookies again. I want to go back onto the ice and get my old figure skates out from when I was 17 years old and try taking a spin around the rink. I want to show up to this really cool, I wish I could do this actually. I could do a form of it, but there is actually a 1 week retreat. I believe it's in North Carolina, where you can go and learn how to make your own herbal skincare, your own lotions, your own washes, your own shampoos, your own soaps, and have a natural yoga meditation retreat at the same time. I mean, how fun would that be? I may not be able to get away for a week, but I could do something in a class that shows me how to make my own soap, right? I want to try new things. But wrapped up in all of that, I just want to feel more centered, more grounded, more embodied, more calm, more, I don't even know what the word is because I don't really feel it yet, but you know what word I'm trying to convey. That's what I want 2026 to feel like. That's who I want to be, how I want to feel, and what I want to do. And so from that space, I thought about what notebooks are going to help me get there. Not what notebooks do I think I should use, like, should I use her planner or this planner? Or, oh, she does a reading notebook and she does this. No. Nope. What kind of notebooks do I need to be, feel, and do the way I want to in 2026? And so that's where I came up with my core six. Okay, so the very first notebook that I will be writing in every single day to help me hold on to the good is my very treasured and my very beloved 5-year journal. I am coming up on the 5th year of my very first 5-year journal. Yes, I wish I did this long, 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 long ago. But as Gretchen Rubin says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. It is never too late to start a 5-year journal to hold on to those wonderful small memories of your day. I adore this notebook. Every morning, I think back to the day I had before and I hold on to something good. And then I read through the entries for that year from the past years. I just remember all sorts of things that I No, I would never ever remember if I didn't jot them down in this book. So I'm really excited that in 2026, I will have finished my first 5-year journal and will get to buy another one in 2027. So this book, this journal, is going to be the one that grounds me the most in 2026 in the good. Now, the one I purchased was just one that I found on Amazon. It's small, it can fit into the palm of your hand, and it is very colorful. Lots of swirls of color on the cover. And when you open up the notebook, each page is framed in a different color as well. And I write in it in different colored, fine tipped, colorful markers. I just love the burst of color that comes off the page. The only thing that I will do differently next year is to choose one that's a little bit bigger. I'd like a little more space to write, especially because it's really tiny and I have to put my reading glasses on in order to make sure I'm fitting my words into the lines the way they need to go. So you might want to take a look at this one. It's called One Line a Day, a 5-year memory book. And I will be getting the same thing, but hopefully in just a slightly bigger size for next year. So that is the first notebook in my stack. This second notebook in my stack is one that I have had for a couple of years as well, and that is my Morning Pages notebook. Yes, I am a huge fan of Julia Cameron, and in fact, in January, I am reading her book, Write for Life, Creative Tools for Every Writer, and I'm going to recommit to my morning page journey every morning. And so this book, this notebook, is also a non-negotiable that while it won't be written in daily, it will be written in at least a couple of times a week. Now, this notebook is a little bit different for me. The notebook that I love to use for my morning pages is a Moleskine. It's a Moleskine cashier notebook. So I believe it is an A5 size. The lines are, I would say, college ruled, so they're a little bit thinner. The paper is a mix. It's in between light and regular, I think, but it's thick enough so that I can't see my pencil coming through the other side of the page. Because in my morning page notebook, my rule is that you have to fill every line, every space. If I'm going to show up for my writing page, my morning pages, I have to fill 2 pages completely. That's just how it works. So this notebook gets written in. It'd be crazy to think how many words are there. So the cover for this, though, is a cover that my husband got me for Christmas a couple of Christmases ago. It is a Michael Kors notebook cover. We have an outlet by us, and I love going to look at their covers all the time because they're like a third of the price and they're always so pretty. But the one that I love the most is this yellowish color because yellow is my favorite color. And so it's just a wonderful thing to see in the morning, your favorite color and this beautiful cover with these wonderful paper pages inside. And so as the paper runs out, I simply refill them and use that same cover and just save my morning page journals somewhere else. Now, related to that, morning page notebook writing is the kind of writing that I keep. But I also have my yellow legal pad. This writing, this expressive writing from James Pennebaker and John Sarno and Nicole Sachs, this is the kind of writing that has literally made my physical body feel better, that has literally made my mental health feel better. And so stacked with my yellow morning page notebook, I will have my yellow legal pad. That's the kind of writing I'll do when I need to vent, when I need to go deep, when I need to let go, when I need to release. I'll be doing that on the legal pad, and then I'll be tossing that away to symbolize the freedom that I now have after getting that off of my chest. So technically, that's a 2-for-1. Now, my third notebook, I am calling my passion notebook. Some of you might call it a professional notebook. Others might listen to the purpose of this notebook and call it a podcast notebook. But basically, I have one notebook where I keep all of my plans and ideas and notes for episodes for this podcast, as well as my other podcast, Kidlit Love. So it's just full of interview outlines, podcast outlines, episode ideas, all sorts of planning sessions. I keep everything in that one notebook. Now, in the past, I used a marble composition notebook that I tucked into a special cover that was made out of wine cork. Because I just loved holding something that was made out of wine cork. But the notebook that I typically use now for this purpose is just a notebook that I found and that I keep finding at TJ Maxx. The current version is a fringe notebook. And the reason I like these notebooks is because they usually have a really beautiful hardcover. There's often a page that is an envelope that I can tuck things into. But the notebooks that I love for my passion notebook, they are college ruled. The paper is beautiful, but it always has a little spot at the top for the date that is pre-written in. And I love that so that I can see the evolution of my podcast and my passion and my work of sharing this with the world over time. Luckily for me, every time I run out of one, when I go to TJ Maxx, there is always another similar one. So let's hope that is the case for 2026 because I only have about 20 pages left in my notebook for 2025. Now, I am not the kind of person who needs to run out and get a new notebook just because it is a new year. I am just fine with finishing this 2025 version notebook out in the beginning of 2026 and then going to get a new one when I need it. That might not be the case for you. Maybe a new year deserves a new notebook, and that's what launches you into writing. So if that is you, you do you. And I'll let you know if they still have my notebooks that I'm looking for as I near the need for a new one, probably at the end of February or maybe even early March, depending on how much I put into this. Now, my fourth notebook isn't actually a notebook at all. It is a paper planner, and it goes with my passion notebook. Now, I know that you know that I have tried Sunday planning, and I have tried using a paper planner for myself, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. I show up for it on Sunday, but I never return to it throughout the week, and I haven't felt like I've integrated it into my life enough to feel like I want one for 2026. However, I do use a very simple monthly planner for my passion project work. So I have a printed planner where I plan out every episode of this podcast that you're listening to. I plan out every episode of Kidlit Love there. I even plan out the episodes that I want in the coming months. I plan out the books that I might want to read. I plan out the new books getting released that I want to post on social media. I use the planner quite well for my professional life, but I just haven't seen it take traction in my personal one yet. I'll keep trying in 2026. But for now, the calendar that I will use is for my professional passion-filled life of sharing this work of reading, writing with others. And I use a very simple monthly planner. It does not have a name. It's not an Emily Condren or a Happy Planner or a simplified Emily Lake planner. It's a generic planner from Amazon because I wanted the simplest planner possible, just a monthly planner with a 2-page spread for each month. And that is it. And I could not find that in person or on those bigger planner names. And so instead, I went with the really cheap $9 one online, and it works perfectly. So the Passion Notebook, I often pair together with my planner. And in fact, whenever I move those notebooks around, those two always travel together as a theme. So those are my four notebooks so far. And the remaining two that I want to talk about, these are little notebooks. These are little notebooks that I will not write in daily or even every other day, but I will write in them as the need strikes. And two of them are serving two different purposes. So the first one I want to share is my quote notebook. This is a notebook that I have used and have loved for some time. And it's the notebook that I write in all of the beautiful nuggets that I find when I am reading. So when I'm reading and I highlight on my Kindle, or I flag it with a sticky note, or maybe I even underlined it if I am annotating the book that I'm reading, I don't like to keep the quotes there. I like to lift them out of the page and put them into a notebook so that I can remember them, treasure them, go back to them, flip through them, use them as writing inspiration, and just use them to reflect on why that nugget mattered so much to me and how I can use it to make life better. And so I have a quote notebook this notebook was a Target notebook. You know how you can go into Target and sometimes they're in the front in those bins, but more often than not, they're on an end cap in the stationery aisle. Excuse me, where you have three notebooks, three thin notebooks put together and then wrapped with plastic. These are the notebooks that I use for my quote notebooks because they're always so pretty. And I love that they're small. And then I can get through one fairly quickly and just have these stacks of beautiful writing notebooks that are filled with reading quotes. So those are the notebooks I use for my quote notebook. And so again, I'm carrying one over from 2025 to 2026, but we'll have to buy a new one pretty soon. Or actually, let's be honest, I have some waiting in the shelf behind me, so I won't need to buy one. I'll just need to swap out the new one. Now, admittedly, I have fallen off the wagon with my quote notebook, and I haven't been transcribing the quotes that have mattered in my reading life to this notebook as much as I used to. And I'm not sure why. I still love the practice and I want to do it. But committing it to my 2026 notebook stack is the reminder that this matters to me and words matter so much to me, and I would love to better collect them in the coming year. And now, finally, the last notebook. This is a notebook that I invented for myself and invented for all of you in 2025, and it's the Nudge Notebook. It's the Nudge Notebook. It's a notebook that is helping me to be a better observer. It's the notebook that is helping me be a better person that pays attention to the signs that she is getting. A nudge notebook is just a little notebook, or at least for me, it's a little notebook that tracks the nudges I'm receiving, the little whispers, the little nods, the little ideas, the little glimmers that say, hey, maybe you could do that. Maybe you want to do that. It's the notebook that helps me choose the bigger life. It's the notebook that helps me grow and move forward. It's the notebook that when I'm reading and I read something that speaks to me, it's the notebook that holds those ideas so that I can integrate them into my own life as inspired action. So if I'm reading Rachel Linden, right, and I'm reading about that lemon drop pie, it's the note that I want to make it. If I am reading a nonfiction book and I find a concrete piece of information that will help me do something better, I write that down. It's where I take not the quotes that I'm reading, but the nudges I'm getting from the books I read, and I note them and keep track of them so that I can do something with them. They are nudging me for a reason, and I need and want to pay attention. In fact, I want and need to pay attention to all of those signs, not just in my reading life, but in my actual life. So this nudge notebook travels with me in my pencil pouch that I keep in my purse so that no matter where I'm reading, I can jot down those ideas. Or no matter where I'm living in the world, if something strikes me that I want to do or be or feel, I can just get out that notebook and write it down as a nudge. I want 2026, as I mentioned, to be the year that I hold on to the good, that I have more ease and creativity and try new things. And so I need to keep track of the things that are pulling at my attention so that I can try them. And so my nudge notebook is this teeny tiny little notebook that fits into my pencil pouch and therefore my purse that my daughter gifted me a little while ago that I was waiting for the perfect reason to use. And 2025 brought that to me in the form of a nudge notebook. And so that's my last notebook in my stack. So let me just recap. I've got a 5-year journal, a morning page notebook, and an accompanying yellow legal pad, a passion notebook, a calendar or a planner, a quote notebook, and a nudge notebook. Now you'll notice that there were so many other notebooks I could choose from and that you could choose from. Maybe you have a gratitude notebook. Maybe you have a challenge notebook where you work through all of the challenges that people are offering for 2026, like Alex Benayan's 30-day challenge that I used to love so much. Maybe you have a reading notebook. Maybe you have a writing notebook in the actual sense of writing a book kind of notebook. So many different kinds of notebooks, so many different kinds of purposes. And it's up to you to choose the ones that are speaking to you right now, that will serve you right now. And then the rest of them, you could just let them go. And maybe later on in 2026, you'll get a need for them. In all honesty, I have a whole stack of notebooks behind me right now that are empty, just waiting to be used. They're patient. I don't know what their purpose will be yet, but I bet as 2026 moves along, a purpose for one of them will become clear, right? I will just wait for it in the meantime. And so I love having a couple of notebooks ready to go for when that urge strikes, right? When I got that idea for the nudge notebook, I had one ready to go. And so think again of those notebooks as opportunities, as little invitations to hold space for you when you need it, and then provide evidence of that growth. So I hope that this episode has gotten you to think, who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And what do you want to do in 2026? And then what notebooks will help you do that? Remember, it's not about the notebook coming first and then deciding how to fill it because you think you should, because that's what all the gurus are saying online of what's going to make 2026 really great. No, start with you. Grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, think about who you want to be, how you want to feel, and what you want to do, and then decide what notebooks are going to help you get there. I would love to know what you think of my 2026 notebook stack, but of course, I want to know what your 2026 notebook stack looks like. Now, this is a podcast, so you couldn't see my notebooks. You had to listen to me describe them. But if you are a subscriber to my Substack, that free Substack, A Lit Life with Stephanie Affinito, then in my weekly Literate Love Letter on Friday, you will see the picture of my actual 2026 notebook stack. I might post it on Instagram as well, but in 2026, I'm really hoping to make Substack the one main base for me so that I can streamline with ease. That is a word that is important to me right now, how I show up in the social media space. So if you want to see my stack, go ahead and head there to take a peek, and then share your stack wherever it works for you and just tag me so that I can see it. So I'm Affinito Lit on all of the social media platforms, or if you'd rather, just send me an email, stephanieaffinito@gmail.com, and pop your picture in there. Let's make 2026 the year where the notebook shows up for us instead of stressing about it the other way around. Our notebooks, and as you'll find out next week, our reading lives, they are there as tools to help make life better and to help us feel better too. But it only works if we write in them and if we read them. And so hopefully thinking about your notebook stack will help you do just that. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I will see you next year in 2026 with the first episode of the podcast talking about theming our reading life. I'll see you then. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Restorative Reading and Writing for Wellness podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Get Literate Substack community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and much more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content, too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. But there's one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and notebookish community, too. Thanks for listening, everyone.